Hi everyone, so I'm back with another topic called MySQL functions. Now, if you're aware of any programming language, you would know what the term function means, okay? Even if you're not aware of any programming language, but you've worked with Excel, you would still know what the word function means. I'll just give you a brief explanation. Function is basically a group of statements that is performing a task for you. The task could be to calculate the sum value. The task could be to convert things to uppercase, whatever be the task. So it's a group of statements performing a certain task. Okay, now in MySQL, functions are classified into two categories. The first one being single row functions. Now, what does single row functions do? Single row functions work on one row to give you one answer. So if it works on 4 rows, it will give you 4 answers, which means one answer per row that the function has acted upon. So single row functions are functions that work on multiple rows but give you multiple answers. The next category of function is multiple row functions. It's also called group functions or aggregate functions. What do these functions do? These functions act on many rows, but it will only give you a single answer. So what is the difference? Single row functions work on many rows but give you many answers. Multiple row functions work on many rows but give you only single answer. Is that clear? So in this video, we'll be concentrating on single row functions, and single row functions are further divided into numeric functions, string functions, and date functions. That means functions that work on numbers, functions that work on strings, and functions that work on date. And in this video, we are specifically talking about only numeric functions. So let's get started. Okay, you will have to learn a couple of numeric functions. Let's go looking at each function one at a time. The first function that I would want to talk about is a function named as power. Okay, now what does this function do? If you ever want to find the value of a raised to the power of b, that's given in the description. If you ever want to find such a thing in your program or in your commands, then you will need to use the function named as power. So when you write power x comma y, what is it going to give me or calculate? X raised to the power of y. Let's look at the example. I wrote select power 4 comma 2. What does it mean? I'm trying to calculate the value of 4 raised to 2. 4 raised to 2 is nothing but 16. So that will be your output. Now, an interesting thing that you need to note here is whenever we wrote a select command, we had select what you want to display from and a table name. Now, if you look at the examples that you're seeing on the screen, there is no from and the table name. Reason being, 4 and 2 are directly numeric values. We are not getting it from any particular table. So in that scenario, I don't need to write from and a table name. Let me give you another example. Suppose you had a salary, a column called salary in your EMP table. Okay, and I want this salary raised to the power of 2. Why would I do it? No, I wouldn't want to do it, but I'm just giving you an example. So if I ever wanted to find the value of the salary column raised to the power of 2, then in that scenario, what would my select command be? I would write select, I would write power, I would write salary, comma 2. But I can't stop here, because salary is not a direct numeric value. It's a column name. So in that scenario, I would have to write from EMP. Is that clear? So if you're directly going to be, using values, then you don't need a table name. But if you're going to be using any column from a particular table or some condition from a table, then the from table name is a must. Suppose I wanted to find the salary raised to the power 2 only for people from, let's say, the department number 10. Then in that scenario, I would have to continue with where DEPTNO equals to 10. Okay, so here we're not concentrating on the from and the where part. In this topic, we're just trying to concentrate on what each of these functions do for us. So what is a power function doing? It will always find you the value of a raised to b. Now remember, when I write power 4 comma 2 and when I write power 2 comma 4, it means different things, okay? 4 comma 2 would mean base is 4, exponent is 2. 2 comma 4 would mean base is 2 and exponent is 4. Is that clear? Okay, now you might say the answer would have been the same. Correct. In this scenario, it would have been the same. But it means a different thing to write a comma b and b comma a. Next, we are talking about a function named as sqrt. Now, sqrt needs a number in the bracket whose square root you need to find. Now, please pay attention. When we talk about functions, functions are always identified by a name. And right after the function, you will see the round brackets or the parenthesis. And within the parenthesis, what will be there? The data that you need for this function to work. For example, if I just wrote, imagine, if I just wrote power in bracket 2, it doesn't make sense. Power in bracket 2 means what? You need to be giving the base as well as the exponent. So 2 data elements were required for the power function, but that's not the case with sqrt. When you want to find the square root of a particular number, you just need to be giving that number. So look at the example. I wrote select sqrt of 64 and it's going to give me the answer as 8 because square root of 64. Square root is this symbol that you use in maths, right? So square root of 64 is nothing but 8. So remember, functions are identified by a name and the parenthesis. And within the parenthesis, how many elements will you write depends upon how many elements does that function need to perform the task. Okay, let's look at another function. It's called the mod function, mod a comma b. Now, what does this function do? This function will divide a by b and tell you what the remainder of this division operation gives you. To understand it, let's say mod 25 comma 7. So let's just do the division. You have 25 to be divided by 7. 7 threes are 21 and the remainder is 3. Sorry, the remainder is 4. Okay, so what would the mod function give me? The answer 4. So remember, it's not giving me the quotient. This is not what it is giving me. But what is it giving me? It is giving me the remainder of the division operation, which is nothing but 4. Again, like the power function, the mod function also needs 2 values in the parenthesis. Okay, because you cannot just say the dividend. Okay, you need the dividend and the divisor to perform a division operation. Next, we come to a function named as sine. What does this function do? This function only needs 1 element in the parenthesis. And what does this function do? It looks at A and tells you what is the sign of A. That means, is it positive, is it negative, or is it 0? If A's value gives me positive answer, then the sine function gives me answer +1 or just 1. If A evaluates to something negative, then the sine function gives me the -1 as the answer. And if the value of A evaluates to a 0, then the sine function gives me 0. Let's look at some examples. Look at the first one. 3 minus 6. 3 minus 6 is nothing but -3. So what is the value of A? -3. If A is negative, what answer will this function give me? -1. Now let's look at the next one. It says 30 minus 5 into 6. 5 into 6 is also 30. So 30 minus 30 is 0. So what's the value of A? 0. When the value of A is 0, what does the sine function give me answer? 0 itself. And sine of 2 plus 3. 2 plus 3 is 5. So what's the value of A? 5. Is it positive? Yes. When it is positive, what does the sine function give me output? 1 or positive 1. Is that clear? So I hope power, sqrt, mod and sine functions are clear. Okay, let's move on to the next function. It's called the round function. Now this you need to concentrate well and understand, because there are a lot of things that you will learn probably which you don't use in maths as well. Okay. Now round function takes two values in parentheses, but the second value is optional. So can you see I wrote n comma d, but I put d in square brackets. The square bracket here only means that the second value is not a compulsory value. It is optional. Means you may or may not give the second value, because when you don't give, if d is not specified, it is automatically taken as 0. Okay. So, and what does this do? In your lower classes, you must have learned when you say round 35.9, you call it 40, right? So concept is round to the closest number. It could be ahead or it could be behind, depends upon where your number is located. For example, if your if your value was 39.1, and if I tell you to round, you won't take it to 40, right? You will take it to 39. Normally, when people ask us our percentage, right? And if let's say you've secured 97.8, okay, people call it 98, okay? But would you like to call it 97.97 instead? No. But even if you've got 97.2, because it's your percentage, you don't want that 0.2 be lost, you don't say a 97. But mathematically, 97.2, if you were rounding it up, you should have said a 97. But I don't think we like to say that. Okay, anyways. So that's how it is. Now, this D can be omitted. When it's omitted, it's 0, taken as 0. The D can be positive or the D can be negative. When the D is positive, it's just like what maths does when it is rounding up. But when the D is negative, what happens? I will explain to you with the help of the example. Okay, now let's look at the first one. It says round 123.456. No D value specified. So what does D automatically become? 0. So what does it mean? Round up this number without any decimal places. That means I do not want after the decimal point anything. So 123.456 should give me a number without any decimal places. So this is where I want to start my rounding up. Whenever you want to start a rounding up somewhere, you always look at the next element that is present at the position from where you want to round up. If the next element is 5 or more, okay, then you add 1 to the number before the position from where you want to round up. I will show you that example. You'll come to know. Okay, so let me just clear this diagram. Okay, so it says comma 0. So that means I want the cutting to happen here or the rounding to happen here, right? Look at the next number. Is the next number 5 or more? No. So if the next number is 5, is not 5 or more, there is nothing to be added. So my answer becomes 123. Look at the next one. It's 134.99, comma 0, right? D is not specified. So that means I want rounding to take place here, correct? Because 0.0 means I don't want any decimal point. So I want the rounding to take place there. What's the next number? Is it, look at this. Is it 5 or more? Yes. Then what are you supposed to do? Add 1 to the number or to the digit before the place where the rounding should happen. So when you add 1 there, what is your answer going to be? 135. Okay, let's look at the next one. Things will be more clear. 123.456, comma 1. That means I want the rounding to happen here. Why? Comma 1 means I want up to 1 decimal place. So I want up to 4. So the position of rounding is where I've drawn the line, okay? That's just for explanation purpose, so it becomes easy for you. Look at the next number. Is this 5 or more? Yes. So what are you going to do? You're going to add a 1 here. So what is your answer going to be? 123.5. Okay, now let's look at this one. Again, 1634.99, comma 1. So where is the rounding you want? Where do you want the rounding to happen? At this position. Is the next number 5 or more? Yes. So what will you do? You will add 1 to this. Now, when you add 1 to this, what is 9 plus 1 going to give you? 10 with a carryover, right? So what's your answer going to be? 1635.0. Okay, let me show you an example. If it was 1634.938, comma 2. Comma 2 means where do you want the rounding to happen? At this position. Look at the next number. Is it 5 or more? Yes. So what will you do? You will add 1 here. When you add 1 here, what will your answer be? 1634.94. Suppose it was 1634.999, comma 2. Okay, so where do you want the rounding to happen? Here. Look at the next digit. Is it 5 or more? Yes, add 1 here. So 9 plus 1 gives you 10 with a carry. 9 plus 1 gives you 10 with a carry. And then finally your answer would be what? 1635.00. So is that clear? So you decide, looking at the value of D, where should the rounding happen? Okay, there I'm marking with one line. That's just for explanation, okay? Look at the next digit after it. If it's 5 or more, add 1 to the previous digit. If it's not 5 or more, just ignore it and just write the numbers that come before the partition that you have so-called made. Okay. Now I said round D value can be 0. D value can be positive, like what we have seen, or D value can be negative. Now, what happens when the D value is negative? Now, listen to me very carefully. Can you see in the next example, the D value is negative? Now, what happens in this scenario? When D value is negative, you just don't look at the digits after the decimal point. You have to just ignore all the digits after the decimal point, and you need to be concentrating only on 123. Okay, now look at 123, and now your D value is what? Minus 1. Try it when it's minus 1. You need to find that 123 is between which two tens value. So it's between 120 and 130. Correct? 123 is between which two tens? Now, why am I saying tens value? Because it's minus 1. If it was minus 2, I would talk about hundreds value. So which two tens value does 123 come? Between 120 and 130. Now, what do you mean by tens value? 10, 20, 30, 100, 110, 120, 130, 140. These are all tens places, right? So 123 comes between 120 and 130. What is it closest to? Obviously 120. So your answer becomes 120. But suppose it was 125, 126, 127, 128, or 129, then the rounding up would come to 130. Is that clear? Okay, let me give you another example. Let's look at this now. Now, it's minus, right? So just ignore all the digits after the decimal place. Okay, then minus 2. Minus 2 means now I don't want tens places. I want hundreds places. What are the hundreds places? 100, 200, 300, 800, 1000, 1100, 1200, and so on. Now, where will 1154 come between which 200? 1100 and 1200. Correct? 1154 will come between which two hundreds places? One is 1100 and one is 1200. Now, what is 1154 closer to? To 1200. So your answer is 1200. Okay, you want some more examples? Let's say you want round 1639.283, comma minus 1. Okay, minus 1, no? Negative. So ignore this. Minus 1. So tens place we are looking at. So 1639 is between which two tens place? Obviously 1640 and 1630. 1639 is going to be between which tens places? 1630 and 1640, correct? But what is it closer to? 1640. So 1640 becomes your answer. Okay, let's assume that it was not, okay, it was not -1, but it was -2. Again, eliminate all the digits after the decimal place. Look at 1639. -2. -2 means up to the closest hundreds place. Okay, so 1639 is between which two hundreds? It is between 1600 and 1700. But what is it closer to? 1600. So your answer becomes 1600. Okay, let me give you one more example. Instead of -3, suppose, sorry, instead of -2, it was -3. -1 was closest tens place, -2 was closest hundreds place, -3 means closest thousands place. Now 1639 comes between which thousand values? One is 1000 and one is 2000. Correct? It's between these thousands places. What is it closer to? 2000. So 2000 becomes your answer. Is that clear? Okay, now we're going to the last function that we need to know under the numeric category, and it's called the truncate function. Now, once you know the round function, truncate becomes a little more easy. Almost the same concept, but truncate becomes easy because truncate doesn't round. Truncate just cuts off. Okay, to understand that, you have 123.456, nothing given, comma 0. That means where is the cutting supposed to happen? Here. Comma 0 means I don't want any decimal place. Now, like the round function, should I see what the digit is? No. Truncate means cut off. Cut off means what's my answer going to be? 123. Okay, here 134.99, comma 0, right? Nothing written means here also it was comma 0. Nothing written means comma 0. So that means what? Where is the cutting to be happening? Here. And truncate doesn't say look at the next digit, add to the previous digit like the round function. It says truncate. So what's your answer? 134. Okay, look at this one. 123.456. Cut off here. So answer is 123.4. 1634.99, comma 1. Cut off here. So 1634.9. Is that clear? So it's easy. You just have to draw the cutting line and then eliminate everything after the cutting line. Now, when it comes to negative value of D, -1, -2, somewhat similar to the previous one, but it's not rounding. It will never go to the next value. In the previous example, when we spoke about round, you could go to the hundreds place before the number or hundreds place after the number, or tens place before or tens place after, or thousands place before or thousands place after. Here, it only goes to tens place before, hundreds place before, or thousands place before, and so on. Never will it go to after. Which means -1 means what is the tens place before this? 120. So you got 120. Even if it was 129, what would be the tens place before it? 120, and the answer would be 120. Now -2, so which means hundreds place before. What is the hundreds place before this? Is 1100, so I get 1100. Okay, let me give you another example. Let's say truncate 1633.938, comma -3. Now 1633, which is the hundreds place before 1000, sorry, thousands place before 1633? It is nothing but 1000. Okay, so your output is going to be 1000. So it will never go ahead. It will only go backward when it is a negative sign. In short, truncate always gives you a number which is smaller than the number that you've specified. Look at the first example. It was 123.456. Answer is 123. Next was 134.99, answer was 134. Look at the last one, 1154.99, answer is 1100. So truncate will never give you a number which is more than the number taken into consideration. It's always going to give you a lesser number, okay? Whereas round could give you more or less depending upon what you're closer to, okay? You know, when commonly asked things for the board exam, suppose you have truncate, let's say 13.5 comma minus 3. Okay, now this looks confusing, like minus 3 means thousands place. So what's the thousands place before this? 0. What's the thousands place after this? 1000. So what is the truncate going to give you? It never gives you the thousands place after, it only gives you the thousands place before. So it gives you a 0. Same thing if it was 13.5 comma minus 2. What is the hundreds place before this? 0. What is the hundreds place after this? 100. But again, you would get your answer as 0. But suppose it was the same number, but it was truncate 13.5 comma minus 1. What is the tens place before it? 10. And what is the tens place after it? 20. But remember, in truncate, we're never interested in the tens place or hundreds place after it. It's always the answer is the before one. So output is nothing but 10. Is that clear? So I hope all these functions, that is the power function, the sqrt function, the mod function, the sine function, the round function, and the truncate function is clear to you. Okay, so if you have understood everything, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.